What nobody else will tell you about La Mer. The legendary skincare line with a bizarre backstory that most people don't know. You've probably heard of La Mer before. Almost every single celebrity has one of their products in their extraordinarily expensive and well-lit bathrooms. The brand's marketers, who are constantly going off about the rejuvenating and luxurious benefits that their creams provide to the skin, or from me and my unceasing pontifications about why I think it's all a load of bullshit. Or should we say, seaweed plus Nivea cream. This brand has a bizarre backstory that most people don't know that includes dead physicists singing to the products, claiming that there is living seaweed inside of them, when in reality they get shipped across the country on hot trucks and sit on shelves for 2 years, and actually diving into the ingredients to understand if these tubs of goo are really worth over $2,000 for what, a 1 to 3 month supply? Today we are going to expose and uncover the secrets of the brand and dive into why the brand claims that their hard work and innovation is totally worth the ridiculously high luxury price tag, when in reality the products are exposed to gurgling noises and light flashes. Yeah, I'm not joking. I've also been in the industry for over 10 years and I've seen a lot, both in professional corporate settings as well as in the influencer world. But before I had 2 million people as a part of this beautiful butterfly and skintellectual community online, before I was a medical esthetician or did cosmetic formulation, I was a consumer first. I believe people should have access to brands that serve their skin's needs while also match their morals and values, and that's why I dig into the stories behind these brands, their ingredient lists, and even their company policies to help you make empowered and inspired choices. La Mer means the ocean, and yes, there is seaweed inside of these products, but how did the brand actually start? It all started with a guy named Max Huber, and a bit of his details are actually kind of elusive. He appears to be dead now, but throughout this it feels like somebody is trying to cover up who he actually was and those tracks. There's a lot of rumors floating around the internet that he worked at NASA, that he was a rocket engineer, but when you actually dig into the paperwork and try to backdate the facts, the truth is only slightly less exciting. He was a physicist and an aerospace engineer and a rocket scientist, only no, he didn't work for NASA. He worked for an aerospace company called Cal-Val Research and Development Corporation. Now, Max started out owning the brand, but later on in this story we'll talk about why Estee Lauder bought out the company. Again, it was this indie brand that was swallowed by a giant corporation. It appears the origins of the line happened because of an accident in the laboratory. Max Huber suffered severe burns after a laboratory accident, and he decided to create this salve for a bit of wound healing to try to regenerate his burnt skin. Max lived on the coast in San Diego, California, where he would regularly observe the fast growth of sea kelp and other sea plants. He studied them, and he noticed that some of them grew as much as 3 feet per day, and he thought to himself, is there any way to harness whatever is happening here for the skin? Max worked for 12 years. He created concoctions, he worked with different formulas, and after over 6,000 tries, he finally found something that included this sea kelp that he applied, yes, to his hands and his face, but even to other people's faces and their eyeballs, and yes, he even ingested it. What took him so long to create was this Miracle Broth, or so he called it, and it was a bunch of these different kelp extracts that he claimed had these miracle healing properties. We know that fermentation has been used in skincare, and we know that it can give skincare great properties, but I'm very skeptical of this, especially because the main ingredients in the product are petrolatum jelly, and even denatured alcohol, and if there was some living bacteria or some fermented extract that's living in there, it's going to be killed by the preservatives that literally preserve the product so that bacteria doesn't grow, and it's going to stop any process of bacterial or lactic acid fermentation. The way the products are created to last on shelves and the way they actually sit there for a few years in department stores is going to kill any of the bacterial properties or the kelp ferments that are actually in there. It's going to nullify any of those properties. But Max's formula wasn't exactly the one that we have today. You see, when he perfected his formula, he actually created a trademark for it in 1981. Once he had that trademark and therefore that IP or intellectual property, he started promoting it, specifically at fancy and ritzy dinner parties all throughout San Diego and the majority of Southern California. He was no secret to Hollywood or celebrities, and he decided to give it a French name because it sounded better, right? La Mer directly translates to the sea, kind of giving tribute to where this kelp originally came from. He began handing out samples to everyone he came across, from people at the street to these ritzy dinner parties in Hollywood. According to reports, Max believed in his product so much that he thought it could heal more than just skin. He didn't only encourage people to put it on their hands and their faces. He actually told people to rub it into their eyeballs and to eat it right out of the jar, which he did. Designer Ralph Rucci had this to say about Max after meeting him at one of those dinner parties in 1988. Max became hypnotic, telling his story. He had a small vial of crème de la mer at everyone's place setting, and he told us all, "Put some in your mouth. Eat it. It's great for your digestion." I had glasses on, and Max said to me, "Do you have problems seeing? Take a small bit of this, dab your finger in the water, and put it in your eye." He went around the table performing these miraculous moments, and a cult formed. This definitely has all of the elements of a cult. Unfortunately, Max Huber passed away in 1991, and some of his secrets went with him. You see, it wasn't just a miracle concoction of kelp that he had put in his products. He used physics to actually create a miracle treatment for his products. He played them noises, he gave them sound baths, and he actually flashed different color lights at them, which he claimed gave them magical healing properties. The physics of light and sound have been studied extensively in medicine, and we know that there are certain sounds or certain lights that can evoke emotion or even healing in the skin in the case of LED. But he wasn't flashing these lights or sounds directly onto a living organism or a human. He was treating jars of skincare, these creams, with this light and sound, and claiming that it was somehow endowing them with these unparalleled properties. It was 1991 that he passed away, and that was only about 10 years after his product's creation. He had very clearly discovered something remarkable. Whether that was a revolutionary cream or just one of the greatest marketing ploys of all times is up for debate. You see, Max Huber left some pretty big shoes, or should I say, jars to fill, but Estee Lauder stepped in not long after. And knowing how ridiculously overpriced these products are versus how much they actually cost to make, I wouldn't venture far from saying I don't think they're doing that bad. Estee Lauder bought the brand from Dr. Huber's daughter in 1995 after she was unable to replicate her father's work. Andrew Bevacqua, who started working at Lauder in 1986, is now the Senior Vice President of Research and Development at the Max Huber Research Labs. Andrew oversees this strange process of gargling noises, sound therapy, and light therapy that the products go through today. It is an incredibly strange process that Estee Lauder continues to use to manufacture these products. This Miracle Broth, shall we say. A process that includes playing recordings of strange gurgling sounds, as well as a particular sequence of differently colored lights that is thought by researchers to promote the cultivation of the Miracle Broth. You see, when Bevacqua first visited Max Huber's lab in 1995, he had this to say. "I saw all of these small pots with copper plates in them and wires coming out of them, going into an amplifier, and you had this strange noise, this bubbling and gurgling, and there were all these flashing lights. It was like the Twilight Zone." Apparently, the scientists at Estee Lauder and La Mer have followed Mark Huber's process to a T, which is actually a recording of the bubbling and gurgling noises produced by a previous batch of this Miracle Broth that Dr. Huber had originally made. Speaking of which, if that like button hasn't received some sound therapy, some gurgling meditative noises, and a light show, give that like button a gurgling sound bath and a light show, why don't ya? Much better. Oh, wow. As I was saying, the scientists at Estee Lauder also use Max Huber's last known written notes on the light patterns, the specific ones that he used to infuse into his cream that were written in 1989. But just like Max's daughter, Estee Lauder, after purchasing the La Mer company, had a hard time replicating and recreating the exact process that made this cream so magical. They were having trouble replicating these procedures perfectly, and without Max there to explain and to guide, they weren't able to create the same miracle cream that Max had introduced to so many. So they decided to do what any group of individuals would do if they're trying to formulate and recreate cosmetics. They contacted a psychic medium to talk to Max Huber from the dead. I kid you not. According to Estée Lauder, they did hire a psychic medium to speak to Max Huber far beyond the grave. And according to them, this consultation worked. Dr. Huber's paranormal advice taught them how to recreate the same effective Miracle Broth that Dr. Huber had touted several years before. As the consumers, we may never know how true this tale is, but I'm a vegan and I call fish when I smell it. Physics, light therapy, sound therapy, they all have applications in science, but it sounds to me like the research and development team at Estée Lauder really did not have any idea what made this cream so special. And there's definitely a story behind it, and based on the amount of celebrities they hand this product out to, there's definitely a lot of marketing hype and a lot of money behind it as well. According to Andrew Bavacqua, again that senior researcher, the VP at Estée Lauder, he says, "We still don't know everything there is to know about the Miracle Broth. We know skin has an electrical property, and we made a discovery that the Miracle Broth amplifies the electrical potential of the skin, which in turn draws more of the ingredients into the deeper layers of the skin, leading to more hydration." Good research, and that is true, but you can do that by adjusting the pH and the pKa level of a product. You don't need to blast sound and light at it to penetrate through the skin, and you definitely don't need to charge $400 to $2,000 for it. It's hard for me personally to support or even believe a brand that charges this much of their products without sharing any of the clinical data. Is there even any clinical data? And they've always strayed away from talking about specific ingredients. They just always point back to this story that it was created by this physicist and it healed everything, including eyeballs, and apparently people ate it. But you see, it's not just me that has issues with it. La Mer has actually gotten into trouble in 2018 based on some of their marketing practices. They came under international scrutiny for misleadingly describing their legendary Crème de la Mer moisturizer to Chinese consumers as having restored Huber's physical appearance following his accidental burn. Remember, the cream took 12 years and 6,000 reiterations to create. I certainly hope that he went to a burn unit after burning his hands off in the laboratory, but I have a feeling that his skin would have been healed, he would have gotten a skin graft, or it would have scarred over within that 12 years that it actually took to perfect the cream. Tisk tisk to those marketing companies. This claim obviously cannot be substantiated, and it singles out Chinese consumers. What's interesting is that Estée Lauder is very cautious about not making these statements on its American and Japanese websites, where they know that the laws are stricter and different. The company appears to have purposely used misleading language on their Chinese consumers, many of whom report feeling duped. But above all, the main issue that people have with La Mer comes because of its high price point and therefore its inaccessibility. It's literally $2,500 for a 16-ounce jar on the Neiman Marcus website. And please remember that cosmetics expire at a certain time. Once you open them, there is an expiry date. Can you still use cosmetics after? Sure, but that's when the preservatives start to break down. I'm sorry, what is it in there that makes it worth the price of rent in San Francisco? There really is no affordable product from the La Mer website at all. The least expensive product I could find was shockingly $25 for a cleanser, but it was literally a urine sample cup size of facial cleanser. Whereas their most expensive products are enough to knock the wind out of someone. Almost $700 for 1 ounce of their serum essence. This is definitely not made for people who are living on a budget. It's made for people who have money coming out of their butts and out of their ears and are choosing to wipe their butts with $100 bills, or people who are getting it for free. You see, celebrities are always using La Mer. It's in all of their skincare routines, and it's almost held up as a status symbol, like the Louis Vuitton bag of skincare. But a lot of people don't realize celebrities, movie stars, the high Hollywood elite are actually getting these for free. Estée Lauder, like the large conglomerate they are, has a budget for PR. PR is literally products that are sent out to celebrities, to editors, and yes, even to influencers to try and to speak about. This isn't exclusive to La Mer. Most people don't know that the Kardashians literally get Gucci and Chanel for free. But again, I've been in the industry for 10 years and I've seen a lot, both in corporate settings and in the influencer world. And let me tell you, it happens, especially because these products are so expensive, but they cost a couple dollars to make. All that extra money, that extra $100 that they're making on each sale can go directly into sending celebrities products, directly into hyping up their marketing or creating billboards and advertisements. La Mer is made for celebrities who either don't mind getting it for free or people who are ridiculously rich and can afford spending $500 on a tub of Nivea and seaweed that you have to use and then rebuy once a month. Advice from your acne big sister: don't eat the La Mer cream. Eat the rich. When you look at the ingredients, you will see that the first and main ingredient is algae. There have been medical studies showing that algae has some amazing properties for the skin. There are different types of algae, there are different products and different sourcing. But yes, it can be very healing, can be full of antioxidants, and it can help with a lot of issues, even acne in the skin. But when you look at the second ingredient, it's literally mineral oil. One of the cheapest, most inexpensive substances you can get. Is it fine for the skin? Absolutely. Is it going to moisturize and lock in hydration? Yes, but you don't have to pay $400 for it. You can get the basic mineral oil at the drugstore for $3.99, or you can find other products that have a high quality mineral oil blend for $20, $50. Really good sourcing, really good ingredients, just much less expensive. This has glycerin, it has isohexadecane, and it actually has citrus extracts, which, shocker, could actually irritate the skin. There's lime extract, there's eucalyptus leaf oil, limonene, geraniol, and linalool. There is some zinc and niacin, which we do love, but again, not worth this ridiculous price. And when you check it out, yes, it's got both denatured alcohol and perfume, which will make Hiram quake. You know that I don't hate those ingredients. I understand from a cosmetic chemistry perspective why they are placed into products. Now, I will give it to them. I like to see the panthenol. The vitamin B in here is great. They also have tocopherol succinate, which is phenomenal. But again, for this price, it is not worth it. And you're sitting here telling me that because they played gargling noises to it and flashed lights on it that it's gonna transform my skin? What next? Should I put it underneath my armpits as deodorant and shove it up my butt if I've got hemorrhoids? Like, Max Huber, stick to the aerospace and rocket ships, please. The first time I heard about La Mer was from my friend Victor, who worked at Nordstrom. He and I actually became friends because he worked at Sephora and he recognized me and he was a beautiful butterfly, and our friendship just went from there. But when he worked at Nordstrom, he was like, "Hey Cassandra, come over here, shh, look at this cream." He held up this cream that had this little jade green jar with this nice fluffy concoction in it, and it came with this, almost call it like a drumstick that had silver on it. And he had me swatch this cream. He looked me in the eyes with a smile and he said, "Cassandra, guess how much this costs?" And I was like, "I don't know, it comes with a fancy little tool. $50, maybe even $100. It was their eye cream, and it was $250. He laughed, I almost choked, and then we both laughed about how ridiculous it was that people actually bought this. And especially now, understanding the story behind the brand and how they claim it has this magical rejuvenating seaweed, Victor directly saw these products in large boxes coming off of sweaty trucks that brought this stuff across the nation in these hot containers. They were heated up, then they sat on the shelves for a year, 2 years until they sold out. This stuff was not this fresh, new, revitalized thing. If there is any science to the sound and to the light therapy, it all disappeared when it was heated on its trip across the nation and then in that shelf at the department store before it made it into your cart. So, does La Mer get the Cass Pass? Before you jump to conclusions, you might be surprised by this one. The marketing is definitely weird. The physicist knew science, but probably not skincare science. And although the origins of the line are undoubtedly interesting, the fact that Estee Lauder has taken this line, ran with the superstitious paranormal kelp activity, and really turned this into a hype story that is then gifted to celebrities so that they could rub it on their faces and make us feel poor. From that aspect, no, but hear me out. If you take the $400 and the excessive pricing away and you actually look at the ingredients, they're not half bad. It is Nivea and seaweed. The seaweed is arguably really good for the skin. The other ingredients are hella basic and not worth more than $7, but okay. And also the B vitamins in there, especially in the main La Mer cream, not half bad. Simultaneously, some of their other products are really just all hype. There's nothing super special about them other than them being sung to and having a light show for a couple days before they get shipped across the country and die in a hot truck, and then their little creamy carcasses sit on a shelf in a department store for a couple of years before some sucker comes over and just throws $500 on the table to buy them. And Estee Lauder is not vegan or cruelty free, so if you thought no, you were right. But there's always a little bit of finesse, a little bit of nuance, if you will. No, La Mer does not get the Cast Pass, and it's primarily because they are so ridiculously overpriced, and you know, this is like borderline spreading misinformation. Like, don't charge me $2,000 because you sang to a jar of mineral oil and seaweed. Thank you. If there's another brand we need to dig into the story of, leave it in the comments. That is basically one big suggestion box, and legend has it that sometimes she even responds. And while you're here, why don't you play some auditory gurgling noises and give a little light show to that like button? It would greatly appreciate it. Wow! Always remember to be a critic and a skeptic, as well as being beautiful both inside and out, and I cannot wait to see you in these next videos. Love you guys. Bye.